In the dead of night, she felt the needle pierce her skin not as pain, but as a cold, metallic intrusion. The air in the room grew thick, carrying the faint, coppery scent of blood and something older, like damp earth in a sealed tomb. Her breath hitched, catching in her throat as the needle emerged cleanly from the other side. A perfect, glistening tunnel through living flesh. A primal dread took hold, freezing her muscles, as a soft, rhythmic scratching began from somewhere in the walls. It was the silence between the scratches that was truly deafening, a void that swallowed all normal sound. Sticky with a cold sweat, her other hand trembled against the rough grain of the wooden table, the only anchor in a room that no longer felt real. This wasn't an accident or a dare. It was an invitation, and something had just accepted. The hand remains motionless, not even a flicker of hesitation. Woman's voice. Most would consider this the ultimate horror. For me, it's merely routine. Narrator. This is Sarah. The air grows thick with the scent of ozone and old rot, a sticky dread clinging to the silence. From birth, she has never known physical pain. Not a stubbed toe, not a broken bone, not the searing heat of a third-degree burn. She is one of only a handful of people on Earth with a genetic mutation that renders her body a silent, unfeeling prison. This isn't a superpower. It's a curse that leaves her isolated in a world of sensations she cannot share. The absence of pain is not freedom. It's a void where warning signals fail and danger whispers unheard. A curse has warped her existence into a waking nightmare of self-annihilation. Our story begins in the sun-drenched backyard of an Austin home. The air smells of cut grass and childhood innocence. It is a moment of perfect, fragile peace, forever preserved untainted. Sarah's small form stumbled violently against the sprinkler head, pitching forward onto the unforgiving patio stone. From the old camcorder's tinny speaker, her mother's voice filters through. Whoops, big tumble. You okay, sweetie? The little girl pushed herself up, a giggle still escaping her. A sound abruptly cut by the sight. Her lip had split open, and a dark, shocking ribbon of blood began to well and drip, staining the front of her sundress. Sarah never cried from shots. Instead, she'd chew her tongue until it bled in her crib. Mark and Lisa thought they had the world's toughest baby, but her silence held a deeper, unsettling quality. She didn't cry. She'd simply lick the blood away and keep running. The coppery tang of iron hung where she passed, a quiet testament to what she endured without a sound. By 3 years old, she'd already ground several baby teeth down to nubs on her crib rails. Not from decay, but from raw, compulsive gnawing. Doctors were stumped, their confusion thick in the sterile air. They cycled through theories, developmental disorders, rare syndromes. Then came the most gut-wrenching suspicion: parental neglect, a quiet, damning whisper in the charts. A 6-year-old Sarah sat motionless on the sterile examination table. The physician tested her corneal reflex, the cotton grazing her eye. She didn't blink. Only after a Houston neurologist conducted a series of unsettling tests did the chilling truth emerge. Sarah's senses were flawless. She could register every touch, temperature change, and pressure perfectly, but the specific neural pathway for pain was simply missing. A microscopic error in a gene called SCN9A meant her body could never send the signal that screams, "Danger!" to her brain. The diagnosis: congenital insensitivity to pain. Sarah. My parents were relieved to have an answer. They thought, great, no pain, what a blessing. They didn't understand. Pain isn't the enemy. Pain is the most important teacher you'll ever have. After the teacher disappeared, Sarah's world became a landscape of hidden dangers. Her body became a map of silent suffering, each scar a terrible landmark. The air in her home grew thick with the smell of old blood and damp plaster. Every floorboard's creak was a warning, every shadow a potential threat lying in wait. At 8 years old, a soccer game left her with a fractured ankle, but she didn't stop running. By the final whistle, that simple break had spiraled into a catastrophic injury requiring 3 surgeries. Years later, at 12, she leaned against a space heater during a winter reading session, lost in a book. The scent of burning fabric finally broke her focus. The heat had seared through denim and into the flesh of her thigh. Third-degree burns. The scalding cheese seared her tongue like liquid metal. A metallic, coppery taste flooded her mouth. The first warning. The familiar cafeteria smell of grease and disinfectant twisted into something acrid, like ozone and burnt hair. Her breath hitched. This wasn't heat. This was a chemical fire from within. Steam curled from the food as she swallowed, oblivious to the searing blisters already forming on the roof of her mouth. Her body became a living chart of invisible wounds. The psychological scars cut far deeper. Taunted as a robot or a freak, a cold, isolating dread took root. She felt severed, not only from her peers, but from the very reality of her own skin and bone. How do you learn your limits when there are none? Sarah. I began to test things, not out of curiosity, but from a desperate, simmering anger. If my body refused to reveal its boundaries, I would find them myself. In the stark bathroom light, Sarah's reflection stared back, a hollow echo of the girl she once was. The scent of ozone from the fluorescent bulb mixed with the faint, acrid smell of impending smoke. With a deliberate, almost ceremonial slowness, she brought the ember's orange glow toward her skin. A hiss, the smell of searing flesh, and the sickening sensation of heat meeting nerve. She holds it there, watching the skin blister and blacken, her face a mask of hollow vacancy. This is the hidden horror of congenital insensitivity to pain. The body silently accrues damage. Sarah's skeleton bore the unseen cost. By her mid-20s, severe osteoarthritis had fused her knees and spine. Each step, each unnoticed twist, had etched its ruin into her bones. A lifetime of silent injuries finally screaming through her joints. Her joints, devoid of pain's protective flinch, were literally grinding themselves to dust. Dr. Evans. We treat patients in agony every day. Sarah's condition seems like a relief. The doctor's words hung in the sterile air, a clinical observation that carried the scent of antiseptic and something deeper. The faint, sweet odor of decay. Pain is the body's essential alarm system, a primal warning that protects us from the silent dangers of the world. Without it, the house can burn down around you while you sleep, leaving you oblivious to the consuming flames. Sarah's body is that house, a structure perpetually consumed by invisible fire. Her nerves scream a constant, silent alarm that her mind can never answer. Sarah's morning ritual begins in her pristine living room, her movements stiff and deliberate, as if performing a practiced routine. The climax of her ordeal isn't a single moment of terror, but a chilling awareness that creeps in with each dawn. Every morning, she confronts the same slow, suffocating dread that the world around her is subtly wrong. The air smells faintly of ozone and stale dust, a sensory echo of the horror she must relive daily. Her routine is meticulous, clinical, and deeply haunting. With that mirror, she inspects every inch of her skin for wounds she never felt. A fever is often the only whisper her body gives of a serious infection. Her daily exercises aren't for fitness, but to search for the stiffness of a new, unfelt injury. Sarah. This is my pain, this ceaseless, vigilant, psychological torment, the gnawing anxiety of perpetual uncertainty. Was that yesterday's awkward lean the trigger? Or is this a fresh fracture in my tooth, not just trapped food? The dream always begins the same way, a yearning for the dull throb of a headache, a sensation I've never truly known. Then, the memory intrudes, sharp and vivid. I'm a child again, watching through the rusted links as other kids laugh and play on the swings. The metallic scent of the fence fills my nose, a cold barrier separating me from a world of simple, aching normalcy. The boy tumbled from the monkey bars, his sobs cutting through the playground air. Young Sarah watched, her expression not one of pity, but of deep, unnerving fascination. In a voiceover, she confessed, "I saw that kid cry, and I didn't feel sorry for him. I felt jealous and thought, he gets to know." The signal reached him, and he knew it was time to stop. I can only guess at what came next. The true peak of her nightmare arrived 2 years later. It began with a diagnosis of appendicitis. She felt no cramping, no sharp pains, just a vague, non-painful discomfort she nearly dismissed. A friend, noticing her pallor, insisted on taking her to the ER. The air in the hospital felt heavy and sterile, thick with the scent of antiseptic and dread. Later, the surgeon would tell her it was mere hours from rupturing. A routine condition, almost always caught because of agony, nearly killed her because of its absence. The air in the room grew heavy, thick with the scent of antiseptic and something metallic underneath. Her agony was a silent alarm that never sounded, a warning system that had catastrophically failed. Sarah. People see me and think I'm invincible, unbreakable, but I'm the most fragile person you'll ever meet. My entire life is a calculated effort to keep this body I cannot feel from quietly falling apart. Sarah's story forces us to rewire our most basic instinct, to avoid pain. We hate it, we fear it, we spend billions to eradicate its sharp edges from our lives. But what if that fundamental alarm system simply vanished? Sarah exists in a world of silent alarms. She is a living paradox, physically unbreakable, yet perpetually teetering on the brink of an invisible collapse. The air carries the scent of damp earth and distant rain, a tactile reminder of fragility she can observe, but never truly feel. Every ordinary moment, like a child's stumble, echoes with a profound, unspoken dread only she can hear. Her genetic mutation wasn't a gift. It was a curse. It shackled her as the solitary, flawed warden of a prison that offered no alarms, no second chances. The only warning came from the prick of the needle as it slid from her hand, a cold, sharp sting, that felt like a final verdict, a metallic scent, like old pennies and ozone, hung in the sterile air, the smell of her own blood, and the prison's latent, electric threat. Every withdrawal was a gamble, a moment where the silence felt less like quiet, and more like a held breath before chaos. A crimson bead swelled on her skin, glistening under the stark light. She blotted it mechanically, the tissue absorbing the dark bloom without hesitation. Sarah. So when you feel that sharp sting again, that deep, throbbing ache, that searing burn, don't just dismiss it. For one moment, just listen. That pain isn't random noise. It's a signal. It's your own body, whispering a warning you can't afford to ignore. The reflection is a guardian, spinning a tale to shield you from the truth. It murmurs reassurances while the air thickens with the scent of old paper and cold iron. Your safety is its only purpose, a fragile barrier against the damp, unseen pressure in the room. The final image holds. Sarah's wide eyes, captured in the cold glass of her magnifying mirror, inspecting a terror she cannot yet name. In the glass, her reflection reveals an eternal watchfulness and a solitude that aches. As for Sarah, the woman numb to agony, she would trade everything to hear that tale just once. The screen fades to absolute black. White text materializes in the void. Pain is not the enemy. Silence is.